This is NHTV2, North Haven Government Television, a service of North Haven Community Television. The following program is brought to you through the support of the Town of North Haven.
I'd like to call the Board of Fire Commission meeting to order for Tuesday, November 26, 2019. Would you be kind enough to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. More than a few miles. I'd like to ask for the approval of the minutes of the Board of Fire Commission meeting held on October 22nd, 2019.
So move.
Do I hear a second? Any question on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I'd like to also ask for approval for the special meeting of the Board of Fire Commission held on November 19th, 2019.
So move.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any question on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. The Chief's report.
Chief's report for this month, I'll start off with alarms. So alarms year to date, as of yesterday, we were at 4,189 alarms. This time last year, we were at 4,199, so it's negative 10. Pretty much right on pace for where we were last year at this time. If you look back at 2014, we were at 3,712, which is a difference of 477 alarms. Since our last Board of Fire Commission meeting, we provided ALS intercepts on 5 different occasions. We've had 26 incident responses to limited access highways. 61% of our calls were EMS related. Again, that was 61%. Since our last meeting, there were 3 incidents in which the fire department experienced a delay in response to a medical incident or motor vehicle accident, and 4 additional others in which the FD had no apparatus to send, meaning an ambulance responded solo without any fire personnel. Approximately 516 incidents since our last meeting, 130 of which were overlapping, which accounts for 25% of our incidents continuing to overlap one another. Covers our alarms regarding our current budget. Year to date, at this time last year, we were at 50.8. Year to date as of this year, we're at 40.2. Since our last meeting, the fire department has collected $27,228 in permit fees. This fiscal year, that brings us to a total of $211,536. Regarding the fire marshal's office, a total of 35 inspections, 12 re-inspections, which total 47. 13 code violations, 36 additional code violations were corrected, and we've issued 1 abatement order and reviewed 25 plan reviews and permits. For training over the last month, it's been a pretty consistent month of driver training, both in terms of the pump and of the aerials. We're positioning ourselves to make sure that with the occupying of our station and having to shift some staff down there, that all of our staff are credentialed, qualified, and trained to be able to operate the apparatus so that we don't have any issues with assigning personnel where we see fit. So that's been a pretty consistent month, taking advantage of the weather before it gets too cold on us. Additionally, we're continuing with pre-planning. Pre-planning is something that we had not done a lot of. You hear me talk sometimes in the past about construction pre-planning, and that's something that's always taken place. But in addition to the fire inspector now going into properties and doing code inspections, we're also having our fire companies, fire personnel go into buildings and pre-plan for the event of a fire or other type of emergency. And with that, there's documentation taking place that then can be recalled at some point in the future. And the nice thing about that is we're able to do that with our existing software and some existing features within our software without having to buy anything else. There's a lot of programs out there that you can spend tens of thousands of dollars on different programs to make it so that it's available to you when that incident comes in. So take, for example, this building here. If the crew were to come through and pre-plan this building, they want to know if there were sprinklers, they want to know if there was a detection system, they want to know if there was a standpipe system, if there was a connection for the sprinkler system, hazardous materials, Knox boxes, areas of refuge, all those things, and dozens of others. So all those things are categorized and itemized and put into a document that we can recall so that when we get dispatched to, hopefully never this address, but in the event we're dispatched to this address, the staff can pull that up on the fly and be able to look at everything that's there. And that's pretty important to be able to do. We've never done that before. Previously, when that was done, you'd fill out a piece of paper and it would stay in an office locked up, and it wasn't available to the staff to use on the way to a call. So you're going to hear me talking a lot more about that because we really just started doing that in the last month, and we've got a number of properties to go. So staff has been pretty busy doing that. In addition, there was a EPPI drill, which is the emergency planning drill that we have to take part in every year in order to be eligible for ENPG funding. That took place on November 18th, in which it was simulated very elaborated cyber attack, and we played through the various stages of how we recover from that. That's what I have for training. I have a couple things that I did not list for correspondence, but I can just list as other. I've got a letter of thanks from the Shelton Police Department. Shelton hosted the Connecticut State Firefighters Convention back in September, and our fire police assisted with some traffic control out there. So a letter from the chief of, Shelton Sergeant referencing the fire police's efforts and thanking them, as well as a very, we often get resignation letters for one reason or another, but this resignation letter from Jake Mikos goes on to just thank us because he's taken a career position with a nearby career department, and he thanks several people, and I can share it with the commission in terms of the fact that he was able to land the career he has now because of North Haven. And that's what I have for the chief's report. I got a couple of things for executive session.
Perfect. Any questions of the chief regarding his report? Chief, I have a couple of questions. As far as the four no apparatus sent this last month, do you know offhand what type of emergencies those were?
So those were 4 medical incidents.
4 medical incidents, okay. And the delays, what causes a delay?
So basically what happens right now, the easy way to describe this is if there's an incident occurring in town that a fire department resource should be dispatched to and there's nothing available, we have codes in the CAD that allow us to place basically a marker on it. And that marker indicates, and that's what allows me to pull reports back afterwards to show that this unit was assigned and the unit doesn't exist. We know it doesn't exist, but it allows us to then realize that something happened that we didn't have units available for. So I run these reports, I'm running them, and I'm looking to see if that fictitious unit was assigned and there was ever a fire department resource that cleared up at some point in time and was able to respond. That would indicate that we had a delay. That would indicate that the fictitious resource was sent at the time that the call was occurring and we had nobody available, and then I can usually track and see how many more minutes thereafter until something else cleared up in town and we were able to send something. So that indicates a delay. In the event that we had nothing to send, I look at that fictitious unit that was assigned, and there's never anything else that was assigned to it, so I know that we never were able to clear to take the call.
And that becomes the no apparatus?
Correct.
Got it, okay. Any other questions? Hearing none?
Anything on Narcan, how many applications? None?
No, it's getting harder and harder to track now compared to what it was even a couple of years ago, because now you got a lot of people that are giving Narcan before we even arrive. So it wouldn't ever really be a true indication of the amount of overdoses we have anymore.
Any question? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Correspondence, Chief, you already addressed it, a couple of correspondence there. Any commissioners receive any correspondence, verbally or written? Discussion of unfinished business of the fire department.
So I have a few items on your agenda. The first being the FEMA Assistance to Firefighter grant applications. I had referenced during our last meeting, I had found out that day of our last meeting that we were denied the 2 applications, that being the PPE grant for approximately 20 sets of structural firefighting gear and the apparatus. The PPE grant, we're not going to have the opportunity to put in for again. Our situation has changed since, where we now have into the budget. We can start to replace roughly 8 sets of gear a year. And we also had the incident across the street where we were able to replace a number of sets of gear. So what that does is that skews the numbers moving forward, because it throws off the average age of gear that we have, because we've got some newer sets now. If we didn't get it this past year, we're not going to get it next year. We're no longer going to be as competitive as we were this past year. So I'm going to look at some other opportunities we can put in for. Regarding the apparatus, which I really wanted to bring up, was we tried again. I believe this is at least a second, perhaps a third year of an apparatus, and I'm going to try one more year. And we've got one more shot at this, because our apparatus situation is going to be what it is right now. We don't take delivery of anything else until April. So the numbers are the same now as they were when we tried putting in for it this time, roughly last year. The application's open in a few weeks. I just want to give you some perspective. There were 8,441 assistant firefighter grant applications submitted throughout the country. Of those, 25% were for apparatus. So it is the most competitive grant application that there is. 25% of departments are looking for their apparatus. So we're going to pursue it again. I just think that, one of the things that makes this difficult for us is we're AAA bond rated. It makes it very hard to necessarily cover a financial need when we're growing a grant list, unemployment is down, and things are good. And especially for apparatus grants, the individuals who review these grants, they go online and they look at news articles. And it's really hard for me to put a really hard financial need in a grant application, and then the grant reviewer's looking at news articles and everything's looking great. So it does make it hard and challenging, which is why I'm going to remain optimistic for grants. But the hard reality of it is that we're not as competitive as some other towns that are really in some rough shape right now. So we're going to try again, but just wanted to make sure the commission was aware of the expectations of that.
In my mind, all the more we need to appropriately budget for capital purchases of apparatus, and once again petition the Board of Finance, whether it's a systematic annual put aside of dollars, so that we would have an opportunity when the need arises to have an accumulation of monies in an account to purchase apparatus. But obviously we're behind the 8 ball already. I mean, we've got, 4 pieces of apparatus that are 30 years old or 25 to 30 years old, and at various conditions of disrepair.
Yep.
They might be passing the DOT inspections, but they certainly are not up to the standards that we would certainly think that our town would approve of. But yeah, based on what I'm seeing here, looks like engine 3 is 33 years old, engine 8 is 29 years old, engine 4 is 26 years old, and engine 6 is 20 years old. And the newest of the older engines is engine 2, which is the one that was struck in the accident, and then we haven't had in service. When do we anticipate that coming back?
Looks like January. So and this is okay, but we're kind of rolling into the next topic, which is state of fire apparatus, which all kind of goes hand in hand here, and that's exactly what it is. I wanted to share with you, this is the same thing I shared with the Board of Finance last year. I just updated it. It says as of January 2020 in the lower right, just be so that the calculation of years are correct when I go to present this, but you're correct. It's showing the purchase duration between apparatus and how old our apparatus is.
Well, yeah, and again, this commission has requested, set aside monies throughout the years. and certainly requested upgrading of apparatus, retiring of some, and you know, the Board of Finance, you know, unfortunately has not allocated those monies to us throughout the years. Although I must say,
Recently, they have.
yeah, most recently they have, and in the event of an urgent issue, the town has always supported our emergency purchase request. But as we all said throughout the years, again, it's no way to plan on purchasing apparatus. We made some mistakes in the past as far as purchasing the wrong apparatus. I think it gives us a better opportunity to plan as we have for the apparatus that's coming on board in April, where our staff had the opportunity to spec it out and go down and make sure that it meets our needs. So this is a clear message that we're going to be delivering, I'm sure, in January when we present to the Board of Finance. And hopefully the residents will support this initiative as we move forward.
Yeah, so segueing into the state of the fire apparatus, I just wanted to give you an update. Engine 2, which is indicated on the sheet before you, was struck as of June 9th, 2019. It's been out of service since. I expect it back sometime in January. The update from the mechanic today, from the fleet, was that they're still tackling a number of rust issues. Remember that to save money for the town while it's in there getting repaired, we took advantage of the fact that things are going to be apart and dismantled, and we're getting some other things done to it. And it's been at the location on Stillman Road since June 9th. It has not gone anywhere else. It's getting all the work done there, and it continues to get work done. And as of today, they were fixing, they're actually just prepping it right now for paint soon. They're working on cutting out and welding, replacing panels, and it looks like it should be going out for paint soon. I had asked Deputy Chief Marcarelli to look into, as the direction of this commission, to look into lease options available through the at-fault insurance company. I don't believe that
We couldn't get any information.
there was
from
nothing
them.
available. So we're in a situation that we are now until then. And so I expect that back sometime in January, a new delivery of an apparatus sometime in April. In order to remain competitive for a grant this next year, the highlight, which is Engine 8, at this point in time, is what I'm scheduling to have Engine 8 replaced with. Now, you know, you would say, all right, well, let's replace the oldest apparatus. Well, if we replace the oldest apparatus, that takes us really out of the running for a grant this next year, because the older the better. And I hate to say it, you know, the 33-year-old engine in this case is actually doing better than a 29-year-old engine. It's only 4 years, but it just seems like it's a better engine. So the plan right now is to remove Engine 8 from service when Engine 1 comes in. We may do some things internally to reassign some apparatus to make things appropriately equipped in various places, but for the purpose of this conversation, it looks like we're going to take 8 out. And just so that you are aware, Engine 8 did pass its pump test as of this year. We've sent apparatus out now for DOT and pump checks, the annual requirement we have to maintain. So we've done so in the last couple of months. Engine 8, Engine 3, Engine 4, which are the 3 oldest listed in front of you, have all passed once again. So if they had not passed, I'd probably have a different conversation with you right now. But at this point, we're going to continue to limp through for the foreseeable future, and hope that as we get our engine back from repair and our new engine, that we can continue to patch some holes in the fleet.
You know, it's kind of interesting, these 3 engines passing the DOT is always the reason why the Board of Finance says, well, you know, it's still passed, and, you know, it still starts up and goes, and you're going to be able to use it. And I appreciate that, and I know it's $750,000 to replace Engine 8 should we do so. But you know,
The downtime. It's the downtime
It's
that's
the
hurting
downtime,
us.
right,
It's
that's
taking-
exactly.
It's taking these apparatus out of service to have them go be tested and maintained. I can give you an idea. Engine 3, we just got the bill in, I want to say it was $12,000 in repairs.
Yeah,
You know, so it's a combination of the increased repair costs and the fact that when we're down an engine, especially right now, we really feel that we're, as I've discussed with this commission before, we're making it work.
And I'm sure we're scurrying around trying to find parts for a 33-year-old fire
Yeah.
apparatus.
So while it's still passing, you have to look at the efficiency of it when it's out of service as often as it is.
I appreciate this, this draft, and again, as you indicated, we will be presenting this to the Board of Finance, and I think it's critically important to make sure that they're once again made aware of our needs.
Listed further on your agenda, I have the Boy Scout Explorer program. I wanted to just give the commission an update on that, and this will probably be the last update for a while. The target audience we're hitting right now is 14 to 17-year-old youths. As reported, there's been some strong support for this program through the volunteer ranks, through the oversight of Deputy Chief Martis. He's simply overseeing the program, but the volunteer leadership that decided to step up and be mentors are the ones that are really spearheading this effort and going to be meeting with the kids and seeing the kids through some type of curriculum as we move forward. We're going to model the curriculum very similar to like a Firefighter 1 class, but without the hazards associated with that, so that we don't put minors in any kind of predicaments. I don't intend to have another update for you on this for at least probably a year or so, at which point in time I think it might be worthwhile to discuss with the commission, the next steps with the Explorers and the fact that they've been on and productive for a series of several months at that point. We can figure out what the next steps may be. But we had open houses with the high school on November 13th and November 15th. That followed meetings with guidance counselors for the high school, which the principal for North Haven High was happy to set up after I discussed the program with them. And Deputy Chief Martis and I approached that meeting very much in this fashion. We said that we both had envisioned a career in the fire service when we were in high school, and there weren't guidance counselors that knew where to point us to. So our intent is to make sure that guidance counselors know how to coach and mentor high school students that say they want a career in emergency services, whether it be paramedicine, EMT, fire, whatever, and that they point them to this direction, and that we internally can help them look at 4-year degree programs where they can get a degree in paramedicine or in fire science or what have you. And that meeting with the guidance counselors went remarkably well. They've been extremely supportive since. Having a child in high school myself, I've seen the newsletters that have come out to parents and to students, and they're advertising for us. And I'm happy to say that we've got enough students right now to start this program, which is why I'm saying you probably won't hear me talk about it again until we get to that next step. But we're in full force and we're underway.
Do they have to be Boy Scouts?
No, they do not. Well, they're going to be affiliated with the Boy Scouts, but they don't have to be a boy. It can be boy or girl. But they
They have to be a scout.
They have to be a scout. But the meetings are different. The meetings, they come here. We're underwriting it through the Boy Scouts, but you don't have to have anything to do with the Boy Scouts besides.
It's almost like all the benefits of scouting. Well, you have access to the camps, there's curriculum stuff. All of our firefighters get advisor training, which is provided by the Boy Scouts, so they youth protection training and stuff, but they are not scouts. They are not in the hierarchy of scouting for Eagle and for Boy Scouts. They just cover the program. It's a totally separate program. We had a lot of kids. We had, 16 kids when we were doing the interviews here? 16, 17 kids came to the open house. We had 7 applications that night. We anticipate another 5 or so coming in their first meeting. So, yeah, and kudos to our volunteers who are just taking off with this thing. So, pretty excited.
That's great. Commissioner Zuccarelli brought up, I think last meeting or the one prior to, whether or not the Board of Education would include any credits for any of these persons that participate in our program.
We're looking at
Is
that
that
in the
something
future.
that, I appreciate the fact that you broached that with the guidance counselors. I know the Board of Ed would need to approve that, but I think,
We're a little ways off.
yeah, I'm sure, but that's good. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Are they gonna have, say, a guidance counselor, it's gonna be a class advisor or something?
They're going to have their own internal structure within the Explorer post itself, and they will have direct contact with guidance counselors in high school, and we're going to stay in contact with them as well over what students are part of the Explorer post and what their interests are, and we'll continue to work hand in hand with the guidance counselors.
But there isn't one guidance counselor who
There's
serves
not.
as a class advisor for this program?
There's not, no. Guidance counselors in the high school are assigned by name, so you get a variety of them.
Any comments regarding unfinished business of the department? New business of the fire department?
New business, there's just looking for a motion to upgrade career recruit Orlando to grade B effective December 6, 2019. And I just wanted to go over with the commission quickly the budget preparations that I'm working on. So received correspondence from the finance office. Budget submission is due on December 2nd and be presenting Saturday, I believe it's the 18th at 9:15. Let me just verify that date real fast. Yeah, so Saturday 18th at 9:15 in the morning, second floor town hall. So regarding the budget, and particularly keep in mind what I just gone over with you, looks like we're gonna be able to come in and have some discussion on some of our needs, but it's not gonna be like it has been in prior years. Looking for small increases in the OSHA safety mandate lines because we're sending some equipment out to be tested by third party, which is the most responsible thing to do, so that takes responsibility off from us. So we're looking for a small increase in the OSHA safety mandate line, looking at increase in the uniform line, and that's strictly because of the cost of uniforms has gone up. That line has not been increased significantly since 2015-16 budget. So we're looking at a number of budgets now where that line wasn't increased at all. Medical supply line, looking at that going up, that's due in large part to the fact that we're going to be operating a second paramedic now out of the south end, and with that comes the increase in the equipment and so forth that goes there. The other thing I'm looking at doing is as I proposed in the past, is looking at get fiber installed to the 3 volunteer stations, 3 outlying stations, I should start saying. And with that is some significant costs. I'm just trying to find out from IT if that's something that's gonna go through our line or gonna go through elsewhere in town, but I'm continuing to advocate for the fact that the 3 stations outside of headquarters need to have fiber run into them. They're the only town buildings that are not on a fiber network. It makes troubleshooting IT issues in these stations extremely difficult because we can't, not even me, I'm saying the town can't do anything remotely. We rely on third-party internet service providers, so you don't know what the issue is. No different than at home when you don't have internet, you don't have phone. Imagine doing that here when you're trying to do a report, when you're trying to get information back and forth regarding incidents. There's television screens now that hang in all the stations so that we can see incidents going on. When there's no internet, it now takes on a whole series of issues. IT needs to actually get in the car and travel here to figure things out. It also hampers us on phone systems. They're not integrated. It hampers us on access control. We don't have one remote location that we can control access control systems for. It hurts us on camera systems. There's really no reason that these buildings should be the only town building without fiber at this point. Fiber is in so many places now. There's just it's an increased cost. So we're trying to see if operationally either the fire department has to pursue that or perhaps another department. I'll have an answer for that soon. Regarding capital, similar to what we've asked for in the past, administration vehicle, which has never been funded despite being asked for every single year. Fire apparatus, which is what we just covered. What I'm looking at doing for fire apparatus is going to be much like I had spoken with the Board of Finance subcommittee in the past, which was starting to put money aside every year. I really hesitated if we could do this yet or not. I had hoped that we would have received a grant and we'd be able to start putting money aside. We got to eventually get ahead of this, and I don't know that putting $300,000 aside every year is going to get us ahead of it too soon. So what I'm looking at doing is kind of putting $300,000 aside every year, but with the understanding that if these fail next year, we need to go back and ask, because obviously things have changed then. With the 3 apparatus, the oldest apparatus still passing DOT checks and its pump checks, I don't know that we have the support to ask for a replacement. in its entirety. I do think there's going to be some support to start putting money aside and to get ahead of this curve. Discuss further with the Board of Finance, how that would work. But as we've talked about in the past, that would be something where money's being put aside year after year, and it would be up to the Board of Fire Commissioners to decide on a purchase in accordance with the purchasing policies put aside by the town. But I think it's the Board of Fire Commissioners that would decide on if we're going to get a pumper or if we're going to get a ladder truck or whatever it would be.
Well, I absolutely agree. If in fact the Board of Finance agrees to set aside monies, those monies need to be in a fire department account to be used at the discretion of the commission based on your recommendation. And I know that we've talked about this for a period of time since we began to collect fire fees. I mean, you reported earlier that we collected $211,536 in fire fees year-to-date and $27,228 in fire fees just this past month. And again, we're preaching to the choir here. We're all aware of the fact that the chief and I advocated to utilize those monies and gear them toward the fire department rather than going into the general fund. I think if that in fact happened, we would be able to do what the chief is proposing. I mean, we could put some monies aside and certainly have the monies available to purchase an apparatus in the event one of these three aging apparatuses break down. I think that would be a fair and equitable way to utilize the monies. But again, the monies go into the general fund. It's at the discretion of the Board of Finance as to how those monies are allocated and when. And even though the fire department is generating the revenue, if you will, and to be perfectly honest, it's what, 3 years now that we've been generating fees? Is it 3?
We're in our fourth fiscal
Fourth
year.
year, yeah. So, 4 years ago, we didn't collect any of this money. Again, I think, our discussion with the Board of Finance will be passionate and articulate. And once again, I think we need to request the utilization of the monies that we generate from the collection of those fees, fire fees. So, again, Chief, when we present in January, I'm sure we'll make that argument.
Otherwise, again, some smaller capital items have been requested in the past. Station security, station generator. We still have 2 of the 4 stations have no standby generators. So in this particular case, the one I'm looking for is to replace a generator here at this station. The generator here is 33 years old. It is on a trailer, it has a 10-gallon tank only, and it will not power the entire building. And it does require somebody to manually come here, plug it in, get it going. It's just, this day and age, it's not feasible. We have an incident here and something's going on. We gotta make sure that the doors will open and trucks will leave right away. We're at 2 of the 4 stations now, generators. This past fiscal year, the Board of Finance did approve additional station generator at headquarters. That'll leave 2 additional stations left. So, when I preface this by saying it's not that bad, because, I really was looking at the last 4 years, 5 years worth of budget presentations I've done, and we've done really well. There are still some significant needs, but we've done very well. You think about it, in the last few years, we bought a new ladder truck, we bought a new engine, and there's money we bought a new rescue, and there's money put aside for a used ladder truck, which I don't want to say anything definite yet, but it looks like we might have found a good fit for that. So we've done very well. There's just still some needs that we've got to make sure that we put out there. And then regarding staffing, I'm going to continue to ask, as has been informally agreed to by administration of the town, and they continue to ask for the 2 additional career firefighters, as we have done, and we'll continue to bring the shifts up to a point where we can run 2 stations 24/7.
Very good.
And I'm just looking for that motion to bring Orlando to firefighter grade B.
kind enough to make that motion, Commissioner Criscola?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to make a motion to elevate recruit firefighter Orlando firefighter be effective December 6, 2019.
Do I hear a second to the motion? Any question on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Chief, I appreciate your overview of the proposed budget and the needs as you see them at the moment. And the town has been responsive, and certainly this administration has been very supportive of the fire department. Unfortunately, I think, for many, many, many years, there's been neglect. I think, Mike Fried has done a great job in the Board of Finance in trying to correct the many years that, we have not received the appropriate funds to.
Yeah, we have some catching up to do.
We got some catching up to do, no question, but, I appreciate what they've done. And hopefully this year we can get some more chipped away at. The good of the fire department.
Good to the department. Holiday season and food drive is upon us, whether we like it or not right now. It's notified today of successful food and toy drives taking place that have included a number of monetary donations. I was happy to see that. There's food donations that are going to be provided to the North Haven Food Bank. These are all being conducted by the volunteers, North Haven Fire Department, and various companies. So I'd ask the public to watch for volunteers. Outside of the area stores between now and Christmas, they'll be in a variety of grocery stores, toy stores, department stores, and so forth. The toys are going to the Yale Toy Closet in the Vet Center in West Haven, as well as some local churches, and I can't express enough our thanks for them. I've had the opportunity to join them a few times now as they deliver the toys to the Yale Children's Hospital, and it really just reminds you the time of year that it is, and we appreciate everything they're doing. The other item I have on our agenda, as we've had in the past, every 2 years when something changes, is elected commissioners. Just want to acknowledge outgoing Fire Commissioner Criscola after 24 years of service. I'm looking forward to incoming Commissioner Jenny Caldwell as of our next meeting. And that's what I have. I'm sorry, and go to the department for CERT. Ongoing recruitment for CERT class, which begins in the spring, and we're getting a lot of interest in that. And that's what I have for good of the department.
And certainly, I'd like to echo the chief's comments regarding Commissioner Criscola's 24 years of service. He has seen this department grow and develop. He has had a hand in that initiative. And compared to what the department looks like today versus 24 years ago, I think you can be very proud of being part of this organization and seeing this department grow as it has. On behalf of this commission, we want to thank you for your years of service to the Fire Commission and for the residents of the town of North Haven, and certainly to all the firefighters in our community. Thank you. Public comments. Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to move into executive session.
So moved.
Do I hear a second? All in favor? Thank you. I'd like to reconvene the Tuesday, November 26, 2019 North Haven Fire Commission meeting to order. We have two motions to make. Commissioner Zugrelli?
I'd like to make a motion to accept Simon Brubacher and Sarah Eli as probationary members of Monowese Company 2 pending medical and national background clearance.
Do I hear a second to the
I'll
motion?
second that motion.
Any question on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So moved. Commissioner Mulligan?
I make a motion to accept Michael Benson as a probationary member of the Northeast Company 4, effective immediately.
Do I hear a second to the motion?
Second.
Any question on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. I'd like to make everyone aware that first of all, happy holidays to all, and that our next regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Fire Commission will be Tuesday, December 17th, 2019, at 6 p.m. in the training room here at Northeast Company 4, 366 Washington Avenue, North Haven. Any further business coming before this commission? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Do I hear a second? All in favor?
Aye.
This meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.
The preceding program is brought to you in part through a grant from the town of North Haven. Watch town meetings or other videos on demand at nhtv.com.